So today we have Dr. Kathy Randolph, and we want to thank you for contributing to the chapter. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. So my name is Kathy Randolph. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. I'm also a BCBA-D, and I am in my fourth year of being a professor. Had to think about it.
Yeah.
I got my doctorate at Florida Atlantic, and I've been out here for 4 years.
Do you mind sharing a little bit with the audience some of your research interest?
Sure. So the majority of what I research is coaching teachers. So I created a protocol called iCoaching, where I use swivels and iPods, and I provide them to teachers in different locations, usually remote locations. And then I coach them like a preemptive coaching with a few words, one or two words, to promote an evidence-based practice. So I've done teacher-delivered opportunities to respond with teachers of kids who have autism. I've worked with people in rural locations, teachers and paras, and coaching them to increase behavior-specific praise. So we typically choose one teacher behavior that's an evidence-based practice, and then I coach them to increase that practice.
Super cool. So this actually segues nicely. What are some of the biggest challenges you've run into in conducting research in school settings?
So research in school settings is an applied setting. So it's one of those settings where you have to roll with the punches, essentially. You cannot predict what's going to happen from day to day. So, you have to be incredibly flexible. First of all, the getting into the schools is its own challenge. I've been super lucky here in Colorado Springs that our rural schools are really, just hungry for professional development, and they don't have a lot of resources. So I've partnered with some rural schools. We've got some BOCES out here that, they are very interested in sharing resources and, any kind of professional development we can provide. So that's really the challenge, is getting in there first, and then day-to-day research. It snows a lot here. So snow days are challenging. 2-hour delays are challenging. Behavior is challenging. I focus on kids with emotional and behavioral disabilities, and day to day is very different. So there's always that. Fire drills are always a fun time. So in an applied setting, just like if you were in a school, there's announcements, there's fire drills, there's kids having some behavior challenges, and that's really what I face the most of. But definitely getting into the schools is the biggest hurdle that I feel like I've conquered it quite a bit, but definitely
Yeah,
getting.
I would say that's something that was Dr. Hott, when she was trying to lay out her book, she included a chapter on building partnerships with schools, given that like sometimes the research community can treat them as subjects, but not give them much in return. And it sounds
Right.
like you're really trying to build partnership to help to be
You
both
know,
be beneficial.
yeah, it's not hard for you to send a text to a principal, which I actually did the other day, because I was like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope you guys are doing well.
Hmm.
And, checking in to see if you need anything from me, because, with COVID, people are all over the place here. Some
Yeah.
schools are in person. The more rural schools are actually in person, almost 100%. And the suburban schools are hybrid, or a high flex model, if you want to call it that. So it's really just building those relationships and getting in there and letting them know that, hey, I want to do research, but what I want to do first and foremost is support kids and support the teachers who support those kids. So, my point of view has always been, I'm a teacher at heart. I was a teacher for a long time. I was a special ed teacher for about 13 years, and I don't ever want to lose that. So I
Hmm.
enjoy going in and talking to kids, even when they're having not so good days. And I will physically go into the school and sit with a kid who maybe is sitting in the cafeteria because he couldn't be in class, and with the principal, just have a chat with him. And, it's nice to have that, never lose that perspective of being a teacher.
Yeah, that is so awesome. And actually, so this kind of actually segues really nicely in what advice would you give to beginning researchers that are maybe trying to get into school settings?
I think retain your human capacity, because when people think of researchers, they think of, ivory tower university people. They think of you as an untouchable. And it's funny because, I don't talk about my publications, because that's not what's important to me when I'm trying to build a relationship with somebody. It's, hey, you know what, when I was a teacher, this happened and this is what I tried. Can I send you some stuff that I used to use? Because I still have everything from when I taught, you know, behavior plans that are really simple. Can I help you with that? Or, hey, and you know, in this class, that classroom management class I teach my students to do this. You want some samples? And they'd be like, yeah, I'll take whatever resources you have. I think just, you know, remember that you are a human first, and that you were there, right? You were on the front lines, you were there teaching, you were frustrated with things that happened because you couldn't control them. And I think just remembering that, you know, relationships first, and that's how we built relationships with kids when we were teaching.
Mhm.
So, you know, you can't expect a kid to learn how to read if you don't have a relationship with them. So go back to, you know, relationship first, and know that these people are also, you know, people who want help. But if you come in kind of high flying, this is my research area and I don't take myself very seriously, in case you can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I don't talk about my research until I say, hey, you know what, I do coaching research and I'd love to coach some teachers. And they'd say, yeah. And I'll say, you know what, it only takes like 15 minutes a day. So I
You know
try to
what?
keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, I was going to ask a different question, but you kind of started dabbling in to some of the challenges we're facing as a field with dissemination. We constantly are
Mhm.
talking the research to practice gap, with some people calling it a chasm, right? So,
Yeah.
like, how do you approach dissemination? Because you were touching on some of this when you were talking about building partnerships.
So even when I did my dissertation research, like I worked with teachers that were at a charter school about 80 miles away from where I lived. And so I had to coach them remotely. And I just try to make it as simple as possible. I say, I'll provide the equipment if you provide the people. So I
Mhm.
think that if we recognize the fact that, you know, single case research is small and people don't understand that it's still super important, right? We're not coaching 150 people. I'm coaching 3 to 4.
Mhm.
So really getting them to understand that it's really accessible to them. I will share articles if they like them. If they want to know more about what I do, I'll say, you know what, I actually published a study on this, and I can share it with you if you want to read it, because it's really easy to understand. We'll do the same process, but we'll focus on something different. And I think just sharing, like I said, I don't need to share a journal article with you to tell you about what I do,
Yeah.
but just know that it's really important and that, you know, we have good outcomes.
Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome, Dr. Randolph.
Thank you, Dr. Peltier. I appreciate it.